Okay, Jackie, if you maybe just walk us through some of your pieces and comment as you like on each
Okay.
one of them. Some of the titles are intriguing, but we don't have to go by titles.
Well, this is a series of little tiny houses that I've been working on lately that I'm intrigued by. A friend of mine has been doing work on his house and he offered me all of the leftover pieces of scrap, and I immediately saw them as houses. And so I started building on that concept, and I found them a lot of fun to work on. And the names just come from whatever papers and accoutrement I add to make it feel like it's finished. So this one is called Noguchi House because it's got a Noguchi lantern stamp on the side. That was my inspiration. And the denim, of course, is from the blue.
A lot of them are like modern architecture, almost like Sea Ranch
Almost like
style.
Sea Ranch, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, when I saw these cut pieces that he had, that's
Yeah.
what I thought of as well. Was the Sea Ranch architecture. So I've been doing bigger pieces like this for a long time, and this is a redwood slab.
Uh-huh.
And I wait until they dry out and shrink a bit, and then they make a great base for me to begin my collage process. This one over here that you mentioned is the same thing. It's a redwood slab, and I put a poem that I wrote on it with rubber stamped words, and some of the papers. I made this paper and this paper, and it's about the sound that certain birds make when I see them in the morning, and it's my daily meditation to stop and listen to the bird song.
Nice.
So, and it features a bird, a Cuban bird stamp on it as well. So let's see what else we have. Oh, this I don't know how I quite got started on this, but someone gave me a small suitcase, a very old suitcase, in good shape but not great shape, and it just appealed to me as a place where you could put a number of surprises that you wouldn't necessarily think of as being part of art. One of my favorite things is to fold parts of books, and I cut them all up and fold them in different patterns, which is what this is. And I thought that added an interesting textural aspect to the accumulation of the other things that I put in here to sort of complete a feeling. It's not about anything in particular, although it does say talk. Talk and...
Almost like a suitcase of origami or something.
Yes. Talk and do. Talk and do. So I took it all apart. I papered the back because it was kind of a mess, and I papered the bottom of it here before I started putting things in here. Old letterpress, Scrabble tile that I glued together. This is from an old picket fence that came down, and I saved the white pieces. I thought the way the white paint had weathered was particularly fun. It was even part of a jigsaw puzzle that was all about doors of the world, and so there's doors in here. And I just keep working on it until it suddenly feels finished.
Okay, good, yeah.
Now this is an old piece that I made. It's a little tiny book, handmade book. It's called The Parties. On one side, I've taken all the definitions from the dictionary, and I start with conservative and sort of work my way through the political process until I get to the end, which is liberty. And then on the other side, it starts with liberal and goes through the same process and hopefully arrives at liberty. With an understanding that even if you come from different perspectives, you can arrive at a common conclusion. and work together. It's funny that I made these 20 years ago and they seem even more important now than...
Yeah, timely yet.
Yes,
Yeah.
timely yet. So I thought I would bring them out and include them. And I have several copies, so I thought I'd bring them all along. There's two more over here if you want to look over
Sure.
here. This is another one of the redwood slabs. And this is a poem that I wrote about the color black, which is in many ways my favorite color. I think it's, although it seems to be becoming more into vogue now than it has been for a while. So it's just a silly poem that I wrote, and I rubber stamped it all on here, which took quite a while. And then over here, this is one of my favorite things most recently. This is a Jenga game where it's a puzzle where you pull the pieces out and try to keep the tower standing. And if you pull one too many and it falls, then you lose. And at a time when I was sort of struggling to figure out what I wanted to make next, covering these little individual pieces was a good rhythmic exercise where it sort of left my brain free to do what it needed to do, but I still could keep my hands busy. So this is actually my second Jenga game that I've made.
Nice.
So, and who knows what'll be next.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jackie.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, Betty, if you'd kind of just walk us through a few of your pieces and say whatever you want about them.
Well, I began quilting as a hobby in 2003. I was a classical pianist and did performing in the East Bay before I moved to the coast. And I just picked this up as a hobby. I've never had any formal instruction at all. And this piece, for example, was just put together with fabrics that I chose at random and loved. And I would start each block with a small square, and then I would just add around as it grew till I got the size I wanted. And then I had a whole stack of these, and I just picked them out and put them up with white borders. And on the back, let me see, I'll go in front of you. On the back, I had some extra ones.
Oh,
So I did extras on the back, using up what I had.
Neat.
And it was for just an art quilt. It wasn't for anybody's bed or anything, but I've had fun doing it. And I've done this several times in my work. This one over here, I made in 2006, I think, was the first one I ever did. And again, I just had a concept of fall. I think it's called Sierra Autumn or October Etude, I guess. And I started with a big piece of black hand-dyed fabric and just placed red leaves on there that I liked and stitched them down.
It's almost like a painting composition, yeah.
Yes, well, thank you.
Nice.
And this one, I did, it's called CAC 5, and I did it during the big hurricanes that we had, Category 5 hurricanes back east. And again, it was done with fabrics. Many of these are repeated fabrics. I would just cut them out, slice them up and put them together and, you know, figure out some way to display them. So it was just kind of the way I pieced my work. It wasn't with any pattern in a book or anything. It was done with fabrics that I loved and colors that I loved and put together. And the same with this, same idea. Again, an early quilt that I did with fall colors. I think I was driving through the Sierras and was captured by the sunsets and the colors in the fall.
That's beautiful, yeah.
Thank you. It's one of my favorites. And then this one, I called Kasai, which is the red planet, the Japanese word for the red planet. And again, the same concept with cutting and putting them together in just different ways. A lot of these fabrics you'll see in all the quilts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I work. Just randomly and whatever speaks to me and without ever worrying about getting my seams right or my stitches exact or anything like that. Just kind of fun to do.
That's great. Thanks,
Okay,
Betty.
thank you. That's fun.